Play it on Xbox One.
Hello and welcome once again to the Playground Games live stream, coming to you live from Leamington Spa. Today we are going to show you all the new things coming to Forza Horizon 4 in Update 8. I'm Mike Brown, and joining me on the sofa today is none other than Mr. Matthew Pickering. How's it going, Matt?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. What games have you been playing, Matt?
Currently, I'm playing Factorio. Appeals to my inner game designer. And I recently picked up the expansion for Civ 6 as well, Gathering Storm.
Cool. All right, nice. Joined by senior handling designer Chris Phillips. How's it going, Chris?
Yeah, good, Tar. Yeah.
What have you been playing?
Still fishing in Red Dead.
Still. Have you caught that legendary fish?
I haven't, actually, no.
Just keep on it. It's there somewhere. And senior game designer, Mr. Torben Ellett. How's it going, Torben?
Good, thank you.
What have you been playing?
I've been playing The Division 2 and Horizon 4.
He didn't make up his games this time. They're definitely real games. What you been up to in Horizon 4?
Festival playlist, just checking things off the list.
It's addictive, isn't it?
I'm really enjoying it.
I'm very close to 100% for the entire series now. So
yes, I'm nowhere near that.
Practicing what I preach. So we
got luck, pretty.
And as well as the four of us, we're also joined today by this lovely BAFTA. We're very excited, thrilled, and humbled to win this last week at the BAFTAs. This was Best British Game, so we're going to offer out our thanks again to everybody at BAFTA who recognised all the hard work that everyone here at Playground poured into that game. We're absolutely thrilled to have it here with us. So yes, thanks BAFTA, thanks everybody else. Shall we take a look at what's coming up in the show? All right, so first of all, we're going to look at a brand new car pack. That is the Barrett-Jackson car pack. We're then going to do a deep dive into the Update 8 Festival playlist, along with taking a look at the new Showcase Remix. We are then going to look at new mode Drift Adventure, all new multiplayer mode. Chris is here as well. He's going to take us through what goes into building the world perfect drift tune. So get your notepad out because he's going to give you a lot of info, a lot of very, very, very good info. We're going to talk through some updates to online adventure before going down into some bug fixes, other things that are coming out in Update 8 that you should be excited about, and then a look into the future. We're going to finish off with a Q&A. So this is a new thing for us. We're going to be having a little section at the end where you guys can ask questions, and we will do whatever we can to answer them. So if you want your question to be answered, if you fire in the chat on Mixer and say, "Hey Tom," you'll be speaking directly to one of our producers off cam there. Then give him your question, and he'll pull those together, and we'll answer as many of those as we can at the end of the show. I should clarify at this point that there are some things that we simply cannot talk about, either legally or contractually. There are things that we just can't engage on. So if we don't answer your question, it's probably not that we've ignored you. It's probably that we actually just can't even talk about that to say that we can't talk about it. So please bear that in mind. Anyway, shall we jump into the new car pack, the Barrett-Jackson car pack? Chris, what are we looking at?
So Barrett-Jackson are an auction house in America, and they kind of specialize in they're kind of an awesome car show crossed with auction, and things like this come up in it. So this is the 1932 Ford Double Down. This thing's probably my favorite of the pack. And
it was sold just right out of the factory in 1932 like this?
Yeah, this is totally stock, 9.5 litre V8. So this is a very customized 1932 Ford. You can see the front diff hanging out the front there. This is all-wheel drive, 850 horsepower, weighs in at about 1,000 kilos. It's a rocket ship. It's on slicks. The guy that built it with the idea in mind of being able to do as many motorsports as possible with it.
How much of the original car do you think is still in there?
About 1%.
At what point does it become a new car? Should we take a look at some of the other cars?
Yep. So we've got that one, and another particular favourite of mine is the Atomic Punk.
Yes.
Jump in that.
Beautiful.
This thing it's amazing. It really harks back to kind of 1950s, 60s vibes. I think what's his name? Ed Roth. It was a big name back in the 50s, 60s for cars styled like this. So this took a lot of inspiration from that, with the bubble top. And
that thing and those fins on the back.
I mean, it really looks like something out of the Jetsons, the atomic age that never arrived.
Do we know how you get into it? And you just got to climb over the back there.
Yeah,
scuff the paint.
You've got to be quite young and fit to get in there, don't you?
Yeah, imagine the journey your legs just took as you slid in over the side there.
Oh, there is a second seat. I didn't think there was one.
And then you can obviously see where you're going with the. Actually, let's take out the road. giant engine sitting in front of you.
I mean, who needs to see anything on the right-hand side of the road?
Safety. Do you need safety in your hot rod?
No mirrors either, I don't think. I guess who needs mirrors when you have 360 degrees?
Exactly,
Yeah.
just look straight out the
You can
back.
probably see the reflection in the dome. So
Those reflections.
can see exactly where I'm going right now. So yeah, that's just a couple of the Barrett-Jackson cars. There's 7 in total.
7 in total?
7 in total, yeah.
So Barrett-Jackson car pack is available from Thursday, I believe. If you have the Forza Horizon 4 car pass, so that's either you've bought it on its own or you're an owner of the Ultimate Edition, then you will already own this car pass. That'll be available to you for free. If not, then you can either purchase one of those two things, or you'll be able to purchase the car pack on its own. Not entirely sure on the price. Probably, I'm sure a very reasonable price, maybe 5 to 10 of your local currency. I don't have that actual today. Anyway, what's next? Are we taking a look at the showcase?
I think we're going to look at the festival playlist.
Yes, okay. Let's jump straight through there.
Yeah, so we've been setting up festival playlist. We should be in summer already, I think. Yeah, we are. Great.
Again, we should probably say this is a dev build, so things may be...
Not quite as we intended.
So Festival Playlist was launched last month, and you guys let us know loud and clear your thoughts on it, and we released a hotfix mid-series, which reevaluated some of those targets and made things a little bit easier to earn. I think we've taken a slightly different approach to those now. Matt, do you want to talk us through
we've got the 80% targets right from the bat, off the bat this time. So yeah, you can see here that 80% completion of Series 8 will get you the Crown Victoria, which we know to be very popular. Some of you may have already acquired it through Wheelspin, but now is your chance if you've not been so lucky to grab it.
It's never previously been available outside of Wheelspin.
That's right, yeah.
Right, okay, so the Wheelspin gods have so far frowned upon you. Now is your chance.
Now is your chance, yeah. And you can also see that for 50% you'll get the Alpha Giulia Forza Edition, which is a very nice car. And then for completing, making progress through the summer season, we've got a brand new car to Forza, the Mercedes-Benz GT4 2018. Anything to say about that, Chris?
630 horsepower, kind of a 4-door version of the AMG GT. Very cool car.
Nice.
Kind of looks like it's bulging out of itself with power, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like it's a really cool shape.
And my favourite Hot Wheels car, the Twin Mill, is also up for grabs for 80% completion in the summer.
Another car you can't see out of very well.
Yeah, that's true.
Just seen this month.
We have Forzathon that features the Ferrari F40 Competizione. This challenge sort of pays tribute to the fact that it was a Le Mans endurance racer. New set of daily challenges. We've got a trial called Walk Into My Parlour, said the spider to the fly, because you'll be driving the Abarth 124 Spider. We've got some...
What do you win on that one?
Oh, you get the Porsche 550 Spider.
Carrying that spider theme through.
That's right, yeah. Nice. We've got summer games, we've got some PR stunts, we've got some credits up for grabs, and another new car, the Mercedes-Benz X-Class.
Which is not the one in the photo there.
No, it's not. But,
so the X-Class is the Mercedes-Benz pickup truck, which is really cool.
Cool, we'll take a look at that.
And our monthly Rivals event is going to feature the Peugeot 205 216. It's kind of a nostalgia trip for Group B rallying. It's Ambleside Scramble in the snow. It's good fun.
Yeah, I think as we discovered last month that through Festival Playlist, we've had a lot more players doing a lot more of our stuff. Last month, the monthly Rivals, or the one that's still live right now actually, has seen more people attempted than any monthly Rivals event for us previously ever. So yeah, I think that if you are into Rivals, then it's a great time to do it because more people are seeing it now through this being promoted onto the Festival Playlist.
So tabbing ahead to autumn now, we've got the Ferrari 599XX Evolution. I believe that's how you pronounce it, isn't it?
Yeah.
We need Marco down here.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically it's an evolved version of the 599XX, which was already bonkers. So more downforce. I think it's got the same horsepower, but much more capable car. Really cool.
Possibly a new contender for lap record on the Goliath.
Yeah, we're running some pretty good lap times in Goliath with it internally. So if that's your thing in X-Class, then give it a go.
Also the Mercedes-Benz 280 SL, beautiful old classic Mercedes. Forzathon that week features track toys, and then we've got another trial featuring the Aston Martin Vantage. Here is our showcase remix. We'll go into a deeper dive into that in a minute, I think. And Bad to the Bone, featuring the Plymouth Fury, a car famous for its appearance in a horror film, Christine.
Yes.
Yeah. And also because it's just a really cool car. And then we'll tab on to Winter, where we've got the Chevrolet Chevelle 67, awesome car. One of my favourite models of the Chevelle, I think.
Yeah, that's brand new as well, right?
That's
Chevrolet,
right. Yeah.
So not been able to get that car before.
And the Lycan Hypersport made by W Motors, I think, and it featured in Fast and Furious 7, jumping between skyscrapers. It's got diamond encrusted headlights, things like that.
So don't have a front ender.
Yeah.
We don't have any skyscrapers to jump between, unfortunately. You can probably jump over a church or something. That's basically the same.
Forza-thon, Audi S1, best car in the game.
Also Matt's car.
The Pterodyne Gurkha, also a Fast and Furious car, appearing as a reward for the trial. And then we've got some quack wellies up for grabs.
I got those in wheel spin last night.
So you've played yourself. You should have held on to those wheel spins. You should have known this was.
Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. The 5 Ds of dodgeball. And then in spring,
why the duck wellies?
in spring the Vauxhall Corsa makes an appearance.
Genuinely one of the cars that I have requested on me the most.
Yeah.
I think much like you just said there with the Audi S1 being the best car in the game. It's probably not. People love to drive their own cars in the game, and I think that's probably why I have so many people saying to me, "Wow, why do you not have the 09 Vauxhall Corsa?" Because if you live in Britain, that is a pretty common car to see on the roads. So a lot of people want to.
So what I'm taking away from that is, if people want their car in the game, they need to message you personally.
They can do that, but a more efficient way to do that, because I probably won't read all those messages, is to go to forzamotorsport.net and drop your requests in the car wishlist thread, which genuinely does get read and genuinely does steer our future decision making on what cars we include in the game, such as the.
Yeah, that one came out of that thread.
And because this series coincides with Easter, we've got a rabbit outfit.
Can we say Easter?
I don't think we can. I think
maybe seasonal.
Seasonal egg huntathon.
Chocolate egg festival.
Rabbit-based egg huntathon. We'll go with.
So there you go. That's something that you'll be able to get. Some sports.
He is. He's hunting eggs. Look at him.
Sports utility heroes featured in the Forza-thon. Yep, you can get some rabbit ears to go with your rabbit outfit.
Matt has been willing to tell anyone who will listen that he came up with the name Koenigsegg Hunt. I'm very, very proud of that pun.
That was Ryan. That was Ryan. I've got to give credit where it was due. Lancia Delta, that's a wheel spin exclusive. I think.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
And there you go. So that's our stuff coming up in Series 8 Festival playlist.
Cool. So yeah, I think something to clarify in case it wasn't entirely clear there. All of the 80% rewards are not new cars. So the new cars are all available in other ways now. So if you previously felt that they were slightly out of reach at 80%, we've still got really, really cool rewards at 80%, but crucially not the brand new cars. So should be a little bit easier to achieve all the new cars. Okay, it's time to take a look at the showcase. So guys, do you want to tell us what you're thinking about the showcase?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Showcase Remix is another one that we've added to the game. We kind of introduced the concept in the series that is out right now with the remix of the Train and the Halo experience. And this is taking a look at the motocross challenge with the bikes. And the way we came at that was thinking about what would really change the way that experience looked and really change the way that it felt. So in the stock experience, it's a really solid, well-tuned car that just sticks to the track. And we went with something that's a lot more jittery, a lot more fun to drive, a lot more tactical, because you've got to be careful of puddles in light cars because they'll affect it in a way that you didn't really expect. And also looking at weather and time of day and really kind of doubling down on what a Showcase Remix could be on all the parameters. Though it also meant that we had fun difficulty balancing.
Yeah, we did. Oh, you want me to give it a go? Okay, so it's
You've played this through a few times more.
Yeah. So featuring the Austin Healey Sprite Mark I from 1958, but it's been modified, to put it mildly, for off-road driving.
You put what, a motorbike engine into it?
Yeah, it's got an inline-4 motorbike engine in there. It's crammed in there somewhere.
You can also see our character sporting the new Easter themed.
That's right. Yeah,
bunny clothing.
Dressed for the occasion.
That is the happiest car.
Yeah, you've got to love the sprite and its happy little face.
Yeah, we are. We're lucky as well. This is one of the cars that lets us see the see hats from the outside, so we can, we can see as many ears.
Yes.
So here we go then. I'll do my best
So this showcase
to not crash.
is, I know, in the way it's constructed, one of the most complex in the game because you're racing obviously against multiple vehicles at once. I mean, do you want to tell us a little bit?
I mean, and actually, behind the scenes, it is one vehicle, but it consists of 4 points that kind of hand off the actual position on the track to each other as they drive, which makes it quite challenging to actually balance and work with. But I think the thing that really amuses me about this is that this time of day was actually one of the original ideas for what the showcase would have been in the stock game. But we moved away from it because it didn't fit with what we were doing generally. So it was really nice to explore that idea again in the context of a showcase remix. So just
I lost a lot of speed through the water there, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It's a lightweight car. You can see I'm sort of skipping around all over the surface of the road, so it's challenging.
And I'm happy to report that now, if you like, you can actually thread the needle. That car.
Oh, you mean go through the pipe there?
Yes.
I wasn't brave enough.
No, it's
not wise to do that live.
no, it's not wise to do that.
Oh dear, this tree.
Oh no. Oh, that was close.
Matt reliving many times that he has failed at this race.
Ah, it's very close.
You got this. You've done him.
Yeah. He's toast.
You say that. You say
that.
that.
I think
Done me.
Oh.
Let myself down.
Oh man.
No, you press all.
Oh well. You guys can practice at that and do better than I just did. Never mind.
Yes, so that is available for 1 week only.
Yes, it's in the autumn season, fitting obviously with the season.
Yep. So don't miss it. If you want to take part in that event, then you have got 1 week to do it, and then it will probably be gone forever, or maybe we'll recycle at some point.
Who knows?
Anyway, shall we take a look at what's coming up next? We are now going to talk about drift. So we're going to have a deep dive on Drift Adventure, our new feature, but in the meantime, we've got Chris here, our senior handling designer, a man who knows more about Forza Horizon handling probably than anyone else in the world, I think. Well, almost certainly than anyone else in the world. He is going to now talk us through what he would do if he was building a drift tune. So if you, like me, are not super versed in how to build the perfect drift tune, get your notepad out, and let's let teacher Chris take us on a journey. So what car have you on?
I'm going to jump into a Nissan 240SX here. If you'd look into if you're new to drifting, a car like this is a great go-to car. They're probably the most popular car in the world for drifting. They're just the perfect weight, size, etc. And in the real world, there's loads of aftermarket options available for them, so it's really easy to get horsepower out of them. The one we're in here in the UK, 350 horsepower is no problem.
And that's stock.
From the stock engine, you can get that, yeah. Okay. So the one we've got here, I've already gone in and given it an engine swap. We'll quickly just talk about the rationale of the engine swap. So I've gone for a V8. Again, if you're new to drifting, you want something with a really nice, flat, progressive torque curve, which a V8 gives you. So we've gone for that. So you can see the green line there is really quite flat, very smooth. That means you just have to think a little bit less about the gear you're in, your throttle control, things like that. You can do it with things like the 2.6 litre i6, but you can see it kind of at the first third, there's a real step in the torque curve. And as you give it more power, that gets more pronounced. And that's the turbo coming on. It just makes it a little bit trickier to drift.
I saw that was a front placed engine. Is that important?
Front engine, rear drive. Yeah, it helps with kind of the inertia of the car. Being a little bit front heavy tends to help. It allows the car to kind of swing around the front axle a little bit more. Right. And we'll come to the weight side of it in a second. So, the other thing we're going to do, just because it's got one, and drifting's all about looking cool, Rocket Bunny kit. Wow. Really cool kit on this car. So already done wheels and things, but we'll cover off the tyres.
Drift, of course, all about style. So when available,
gotta look good.
Absolutely should stick a wide arch kit on.
Excuse me. So with tyre choice, especially in our game, if you're looking to just 3-star some drift zones, which I know a lot of people are, you do need a bit of speed, and for speed you need a little bit of friction from the tyre. So the drifting is not actually about low grip, it's actually about getting as much grip as possible during the drift. So we start out here with our race tyre compound. It's going to allow you to drift at higher speeds than the stock tyres or some of the other upgrades. We've also given it maximum tyre width options, things like that. So it's got a lot of grip under it. And in this case, our LS is running 1,000 horsepower, so it can easily break traction if it needs to. In terms of your gearbox and things, the two important ones you want are the race transmission. That's going to allow you to adjust your gearing, which is really important for drifting. And really, really important for drifting is the differential. We're going to get into the tuning of this in a bit, but you want the race diff, the two-way race diff, so you can adjust both the accel and decel behavior of it. And then under the chassis stuff, we're going to throw the race brakes on it. It just allows you to adjust your brake balance if you want to. Another really important one is the drift suspension, funnily enough. That's going to give you more steer angle and a better suspension geometry for drifting. You lose a little bit less camber with steer angle. We're going to throw anti-roll bars on it. This is all just to get the car stiffer.
You're going to reduce the car's weight?
I'm not going to here. So weight's actually one you can use for essentially tuning how the car drifts. A heavier car is going to want to yaw or rotate much slower. A light car is going to want to do that faster. So you'll notice that going into a drift or going from drift to drift, the car's going to react much quicker if it's lighter. So here we're going to keep it heavy. It's going to make it more easy to drive, more progressive.
Right.
As I say, we've already got the 1,000 horsepower V8 in there, so it'll light up tires no problem.
Okay, so are you going to tune it straight away, or?
No. So the first thing I'll always suggest with not just drift builds, any build in general, put the upgrades on it and then drive it. See what it's actually like, because quite often if you just get stuck into tuning, the car might have been good stock. And in this case, this car, if you just build it with these upgrades on it, it's going to be good. So first thing you want to do as well is you want to turn some assists off. So we'll jump in. So we've already got traction control off. I would run manual as well. The automatic gearbox is designed for grip racing. It's going to try and hold gears where you'd probably want to shift up with drifting and run a much higher gear. So this car I was driving around in earlier, it drifts really nicely in fourth gear, whereas the automatic gearbox will want to hold second gear and things like that. The higher the gear and the more it gives you more wheel speed. So and that gives you more slip. And the car's just, when it's got a lot more slip on the rear axle, it's just easier to drift. It's much more lazy feeling. It doesn't bite as you kind of come up to peak grip.
Thanks, driver time.
Yeah.
While we're drifting around the festival here, actually, we could flip on the drift camera.
Yeah.
So
I think it's already turned on, actually.
let's see.
So yeah, we brought this across from Motorsport. It's gone down really well.
Look at that.
With Motorsport 7.
Huge thanks to our friends and colleagues over the pond at Turn 10 who implemented this last month into Forza Motorsport 7.
Yeah.
That's enabled us to port that across just in time for the addition of Drift Adventure. So
really nice timing.
Yeah, it was really great time for us. Huge thanks to everyone at Turn 10 who did basically all of the work to make this.
To turn it on, I'll just show everyone where it is. It lives in HUD and gameplay. So you turn it on here, and you can tune it as well. There's a few tuning parameters, how quick it's going to look somewhere and how far the camera can move.
Okay.
And the sensitivity of it. So getting back to the drift side of things, let's have a look at our tune and go through what each kind of thing means for drifting. Tire pressures, we're going to leave them alone on this car. They work well in this form. But if let's say you're building a really low power, like 300 horsepower car, put your rear tire pressures up. It's going to take a bit of grip off the back axle and give it a narrower slip angle, which just makes the car a little bit easier to break traction. Gearing, I think I've already played around with this car. It's very much about the speed of where you're trying to drift. So if you're trying to do a very specific, let's say you're doing the Needles Hill climb in Fortune Island, going up that needs a much shorter gearing than going down it. So I usually just do the final drive changing, just moving that up and down towards acceleration if you're trying to get through the gears more, and if you're trying to hold, say, third gear at quite high speed, you'd go towards the speed slider and lengthen your gearing out. Alignment, this is a really important one. So if you're playing with a pad, you can actually reduce your caster, which is something you wouldn't do in the real world. Caster you put into a drift car for, basically you can let go of the steering wheel and it returns to center very quickly. Because you don't have a steering wheel with a pad, you can knock this down a bit, and what that's going to do is when you steer, you actually gain camber normally as you steer, but because you're drifting, you're steering the opposite direction and you're losing negative camber, which decreases front end grip. If you lessen your caster, you get less of an effect of that. And it means you can actually back out some of your front camber, so it gives you a little bit more of a bite when you first turn the car in. So this is a typical setting I would run on my drift builds. Again, something to play around with. We're going to ignore roll bars and springs and dampers. That's a whole other stream's worth of discussions there. Out the box, the suspension's going to work well.
So if you want Chris to do another stream where he talks about all those things, let us know in the comments that you're enjoying this. And, we can make that happen.
We're not going to touch aero or brakes either today, but the last one's the differential. So here I've got what I'd say is my go-to setup. Acceleration, just fully lock the diff. That's what you want for drifting. I see a lot of people will also lock this one up at 100%. That's what I would consider a welded diff, which is like your entry-level way of drifting. But for really nice, like progressive drifting, especially with transitions, I would remove it completely. A locked diff's going to slow the car as it rotates, and especially as you come off throttle, it will try and straighten the car. So if you're trying to hold a slide but just slow the car down, you come off throttle, you don't want it to straighten. So I would always remove the decel, and if I'm getting too much, if the car's a little bit too hard to control in transitioning from drift to drift, just bring it in a little bit until you find the right point. And with those changes, you should end up with a car that will do some pretty nice big slides and get you 3 stars in drift zones.
Amazing. I think I've learned quite a lot.
Yeah, that was a really great lesson. Thank you very much, Chris. I also have learned a great deal. I think drift zones is correct, but also Drift Adventure is the other place where you will all need to have been paying good attention there, because later on this week, Drift Adventure will be landing in Forza Horizon 4 for the first time. And today we're not going to do live multiplayer gameplay because it's always fraught with danger when you're using a development build. But we do have a video, so we're going to roll a video now and take a look at what Drift Adventure is going to look like. Cool. So, Torben, do you want to talk us through what we're seeing here?
Absolutely. So, as you said, this is a new kind of online adventure, and it really is about earning drift scores around circuits. We basically took the asphalt circuits in the game and turned them into what are essentially giant drift zones. The basic rules are really simple. You go in, you do a lap, and the best drift score you get over an entire lap becomes your position. So it's literally about drifting corners and having fun in the game.
The reason it's your best lap and not the overall race is because if you stack it into a wall on the first corner, it's not race over. It's get around the lap as quick as you can and have your next lap be the lap. Lap.
And it's not even about the number of laps that you do. There are 7 minutes, and do as many or indeed as few laps as you want to in that time, just focusing on getting the very best drift circuit that you can do.
So the way that it works is when you cross the finish line, you rank the score that you got so far on that lap.
Exactly.
So I think that the baller strategy is going to be to do an amazing drift on the first lap and then park up next to the start line, just firing quick chat phrases and honking your horn.
As people go past. Well, I mean, that would be that would really be bold, because you would be betting that no one else could do a better lap.
But you'll notice that you can't grief people.
Exactly. So interestingly, we actually went into the Discord a couple of weeks back and talked about this feature when it was a little bit earlier on in development, when collisions were still on, for example.
Yeah, and that was the first time we've ever done anything like that, really. So if you aren't yet part of the Forza Horizon Discord, I would suggest that you do become part of the Forza Horizon Discord, because, Torben and I dropped in there one evening. We basically revealed every detail we could about the feature and just had a chat with you guys about it. And it was really good. I think we enjoyed it. We had a great time, and it was at such a point where we were still able to make a few tweaks and changes to the way the scoring works, to the way the championships are put together. So yeah, if you aren't yet part of the Discord, I would join it, because I'm sure there'll be many more opportunities like that in the future to get involved.
I mean, what specifically came out of it was an actual call on whether we should go collisions on and collisions off. Because I mean, we had the feeling in testing that we were going to see snarls in this kind of situation where collisions would actually not be great. But we just wanted to kind of sanity check that and get a sense of how people in the community felt about that as well.
Yeah. should add, I was definitely in team collisions off, but I needed you guys to back me up, so thanks for that.
The other thing, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought we were going to move on there. Go on.
And the other thing that came out of that was the way that we actually created the championships themselves. So there are essentially 4 classes, A and B class, S1 and S2, and within each class there is rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, just splitting those up. You see that when you're going into the adventure, so you can pick the car, and even the specifically tuned car, as you mentioned. Drift tuning is very track-specific.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So, I mean, it's just a huge amount of fun. And we looked a lot at what we should do in terms of dirtying laps, specifically trying to avoid situations where people might turn around and try to get multiple laps without ever going through the finish line. If you do that, you'll get what we call a dirty lap, and you've got to go back through the start to reset it. But I think that's really the only time we dirty laps.
Yeah, so any collisions, any wheels off surface is all allowed.
Doesn't matter, exactly.
Albeit you can't score points when your wheels are
precisely.
off surface, yeah.
Though Edinburgh, I think, is a perfect storm there, because there's racification around the tracks, and every surface you drive on, even tram tracks and pavements and such, we've marked those up so they should count as surfaces you can drift on. But if you do come off the road in some of the more rural tracks, well, it won't count if your wheels aren't on the hard surface.
Cool.
What I was going to ask is, what are the mechanics that go into the drift score, Torben? Can you tell us, like, what are the functions of scoring? How can I get a good score?
We've kind of touched on it a little bit when Chris was talking about what to build for. It's 2 things. It's the angle of the car, and it's the speed that it's moving when it is at that angle. So you basically want the largest possible angle and the highest possible speed. And I mean, we can see some really...
Highest possible speed?
Up to about 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, so I think that is key to note as well when you are putting your tune together. That in the equation that is generating the skill score you see at the bottom of the screen there, there is a maximum speed over which speed no longer increases your score. So you do want to manage throttle a little bit, which I think adds just an extra layer of...
Exactly, because, I mean...
And normal people won't know about that 90 mile per hour limit as well. So you guys watching the stream have got, an inside track in order to build the perfect tunes for this mode right now.
So, as we said, it's a flat 7 minutes on each of the 3 events that make up a drift adventure. So a drift adventure consists of 3 events. They are thematically grouped. They're grouped by weather as well. For the launch of this, we decided to go with dry weather across the board.
Yeah.
So going in, is this going to be a winter? Is this going to be a winter event? In which case, take a car that will do well in winter, but you don't need to worry about a sudden snowstorm coming in, because we wanted it to be as predictable as possible. It was one of the things that was raised in the chat as well, just be predictable about the weather.
Great. So in this video here, I have not actually watched it all the way through yet, but I think we've got Andy behind the wheel of the camera car.
Yes.
So looking at the leaderboard, he's currently in 2nd, and I believe that GD2 Xbox is you, Chris. So as much as we say, hey, make sure the camera car wins,
it's a little bit difficult when
Chris just cannot turn off the competitiveness.
Oh.
I had a small car advantage as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is very similar to the car that we've just watched you tune, isn't it?
Yeah,
Andy's driving, and you are in one of the Formula Drift cars.
Yeah, with 1,800 horsepower.
Nice.
Right.
Nice. So.
And so this is available in unranked and indeed in ranked versions, and because there's such a high ceiling on skill in this game, ranked drift adventure is going to be quite something.
It's all free for all, no teams.
Exactly, free for all, no teams.
Yeah. Even though it does sometimes feel like you're in a team, doesn't it? When you're nailing that tandem drift.
Exactly.
There's no scoring for tandem drifting, but in your head you feel like there is.
Yes.
It's like you feel like that drift was much better when it was next to another person. Yes. So this, as Torben said, will be available in ranked, and so it will count towards your ranked online adventure part of the festival playlist. So. You can tick that off however you like in any of the 4 types of ranked adventure, this being one of them. So, and I would recommend that you do this one because it's new and it's cool and it's an extremely fun way to play the game.
Absolutely.
Cool. Should we take a look at what's coming up next? Have we got the... have we not got the... Sorry, I think I've sprung that on you. Okay, anyway, let's take a look.
There we go.
So, sorry, Matt. So we're going to now talk through some really exciting changes we have got coming to Online Adventure. We are then going to take a look at some of your community photos and talk through some other bug fixes, changes and updates that are coming along in Update 8. We're then going to take a look into the future of what people can expect in Update 9 before, as I say, picking up on a Q&A with you guys at the end. So if you haven't yet and you've got a burning question you want us to try and answer, say, hey Tom in the Mixer chat, and then fire your question, and Tom over there will filter those out and put them into a list for us so that we're able to answer them. Let's talk a little about Online Adventure, guys. We've been stewing on a lot of changes for a long time, I think. We know that people aren't necessarily super thrilled with the current implementation of Online Adventure, and we're always looking to tweak and tune and polish, and quite happy to announce we've got quite a few pretty exciting changes in this update. First of those is that the start of every race, collisions will be off for the first 30 seconds, which
basically take you through the first corner pile-up.
Yeah, exactly. It admittedly is not the most authentic racing experience, but it's a lot less frustrating and stressful when you have that little window for the pack to spread out, for people to separate out and not have to all ram into each other on that first corner.
Exactly.
In dirt or mixed surface, depending on what you'd like to call it, championships, we've removed S2. Yeah, S2 is removed from the top, and B class has been added at the bottom. So if you have that pool of cars that you love for Online Adventure, you best go add some B class cars because you'll now need them. And the other thing is that across all asphalt, road and street racing championships, we have removed free roam rush. So all of those championships will now be 3 races only on normal festival or street race routes in the street race championships, with no free roam rush in between. Yeah, it's frustrating. I think we identified there were things we want to change in free roam rush a long time ago, and with every update we've had those. Oh, can we try and do those now? Can we try and do this now? And they've just constantly been below the watermark, and it got to the point where we were quite a few months out from launch, and it wasn't really fair to have it out there in a way that we weren't fully happy with, in a way that you guys weren't fully happy with. So we've pulled it. We've pulled it from those championships where it didn't really make sense, where it was difficult to choose an appropriate car for it. So hopefully that makes it a much more enjoyable experience for you guys. The other thing that we need to talk about is wall riding. So those of you who follow Forza Horizon 4 very closely will know that we did turn on the wall riding thing by mistake last month.
But I mean, that gave us a bunch of interesting data.
Which gave us a lot of really, really useful data. And that does mean that the wall riding fix isn't in this update, but worry not, because in Update 9 we will have the wall riding fix and also an all-new anti-griefing system. Christian, want to talk a little about that?
Yeah, so we realised that the issue isn't just wall riding. There's multiple things that are kind of working together to create the issues online. So we're looking kind of much more high level at an anti-griefing system. So we're looking at kind of the relative speeds between cars and how we can ghost cars to alleviate some of the huge collisions that occur alongside wall riding as well.
And specifically collisions that are intended to force another player into into a wall or something like that.
Yeah, so any kind of collision that we deem to be griefing, we'll be trying to ghost the car to stop that collision happening.
Yes. Okay. So more on that, obviously, when we have it.
More on that next update. Yeah, I can only apologise that you guys have been waiting for this for a while now. These things can be very, very complicated, and it's very frustrating for us as well. But Update 9, I hesitate to say I promise.
I would hesitate as well. Yeah.
But it's absolutely on schedule for Update 9, and it should absolutely be with you in about 4 weeks' time. Right, we are now going to take a look at some of your guys' community photos. So let's go take a look at what you guys have been up to. Hello and welcome back to the Playground Games Forza Horizon 4 live stream. We are now joined on the sofa by none other than Playground Games community liaison Retro Crystal.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, what you been playing?
I've actually been playing Horizon, been trying to get that, yes, I've been trying to get that playlist finished, to be honest, so yeah, I've been playing it. Also played it with a few of the community in some of the Discord, so that was really nice to get everyone together and finishing Playground Games in the trial, so that was good.
So we just took a look at some of the awesome photos that people have taken this week. What was the theme there?
So the theme for that was movies, which was brilliant, because we had, you know, your Fast and Furious, your Italian Job. My favourite one was definitely the Mr. Bean one.
That was pretty good. So creative. Yeah, that was...
But definitely keep an eye, guys. Keep an eye on at We Are Playground, because we will be doing more of them in the future. Yeah,
excellent. Thanks very much for that, guys. Okay, let's chat through some of the other updates and changes coming in Update 8. We have got wheel spacers. So, I should have Chris on for this. Wheel spacers have been added to 100 new cars, which takes us up to about every car that could reasonably support wheel spacers.
Exactly.
So that's something that I know a lot of you have been asking for, and well, worry not, we've done it now. And do you want to head back to the auto show? We'll do the delivery thing.
Oh yeah, good idea.
Because one of the other updates, Matt's going to drive back there, is a new tool in the livery editor. While Matt's driving there, I'll run through a couple of the other changes. Playground Games seasonal events. The astute players amongst you will have noticed that even though they were best of 5, which means that once you have 3 points, it should end. You'd have noticed that it didn't, which created the really frustrating scenario where you win the first 3 games, and then you have everyone else quits on the other team, and you're just left with one guy on the other team just like hanging out and be like, hey, let's just keep playing Playground Games for 11 minutes.
Well, we've had that fix ready for a while, right?
Yeah. So before we released seasonal Playground Games, that fix was actually already ready, but it was in a lot of the files that
Drift Adventure. It was hooked into
Drift Adventure uses, yeah. So it was too risky to pull those out of Drift Adventure without accidentally releasing Drift Adventure, which, as you'll know, we have a habit of accidentally releasing things early. So
we're trying to stop doing that.
Trying to stop doing that. We held back slightly on that fix. Let's take a look.
So, Mike, shall I hand over to you and you can explain
yes,
what we're
let me just
here?
quickly change to here's one I made earlier. This guy. So yes, fans of our livery editor, fans of photo editing packages more generally. If you're a fan of photo editing packages, you'll know about layer masks. If you're a fan of our livery editor, you've probably been asking for layer masks. This is something which, I suppose on the face of it, can feel like a small change, but in reality is a... Oh, that's not what I thought I was going to have. I bet I've saved over it. Okay, not what I expected.
We can actually see it there.
Yes, so here you can see that I have... Let me just delete it.
Yeah, remove that layer and then you can put it back in.
Right.
There you go.
So I have added loads of decals to my bonnet here on my brand new AMG Mercedes GT4, which is one of the reward cars this month.
That's
right.
right.
You remember where you get it?
Oh, I think it was in summer.
Okay.
It's 50% in summer, right?
Yes.
So what layer mask layer to do? If you've ever used Photoshop, you'll be well familiar with these because they've been in Photoshop for about 15 years. But in our livery editor, they have not. So all you need to do is add a layer, and you apply a mask shape, and then you can add effectively a layer mask in any of these shapes at all. So I've given you a spoiler really because you kind of know what I'm going to do because I've only just deleted it. But if you grab, for example, Race Dude here, and then move him down to the bonnet, what this allows you to do is basically cut through all of those layers right down to the paint. So you can have any paint on the car that you want, and then you can take a complex shape such as this one and use it as a stamp to cut through all of the other layers right down to the paint. So if I just rotate him around so he looks cool. You can, obviously if you're more artistic than me, you'll be able to do great things with this. You click OK, and then that cuts straight through. And the great thing about this is that if I back out, I can now change the body paint underneath that and have it come straight through all of those layers. Something that if you'd wanted to do previously would have been hours and hours and hours of meticulous work and meticulous placing of tiny little decals to make that shape out of the body color paint. What it also allows you to do is use like the special paint colors, which again you basically would never have been able to do stickers with these ones. So you can have basically the sort of concept car camo prints, the chrome coming through it if you like, or the gold. To create those kind of complex shapes with our livery editor and have the paint color coming through would have been incredibly difficult. So
can't wait to see what people do with this.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not versed in our livery editor or photo editing packages more generally, this might look like a really small thing, but I can assure you, for those guys that spend a lot of time there, this is gonna really make their lives a hell of a lot easier. So yes, I hope you enjoy it, and I can't wait to see what you do with it. Cool. What was next? We were going to talk about the Discord. So
yeah. Do you want to tell you a little bit more about Discord? So for those that don't know, we've recently brought out an official Discord. It will be, the link will be posted in chat in a second. It is aka.ms/Forza Discord. We soft launched it for a little bit, tested a few things out, and then now it's brand new hard launch. We've had, I think, just under 5,000 people so far. You might have seen me post a few links. There's all sorts of channels. It's not just for Horizon. You can also, if you're a motorsport fan, there's motorsport channels. The main reason why we started this up was a lot of people, especially with festival playlists coming up, you want to find people to play playground games with or the trial, and there's looking for groups channels in there. So if you're still looking for people, definitely get yourself in there and check it out. And
as we mentioned earlier, in fact, I think we're all in there.
Yeah.
So we read everything, and we'll sometimes be through there to discuss upcoming stuff, solicit feedback on features, just kind of generate ideas and chat with people. Yeah, I really enjoy chatting with people in as much as I actually have time to do it, because it's a chance just to kind of answer questions in a little bit more of a candid way.
Yeah. I think it's a bit better that it's sort of a live conversation. It's nice to have that sort of backwards and forth communication. Makes it a lot easier, especially if you bounce off each other's questions. And like I say, all of us, we do check out the channels. Even if some of us don't chat, we are lurking about and we do read them.
Yeah, and I've really enjoyed it as well. I've been in there quite a bit, answering a lot of people's questions, and I hope that you guys feel like we've been able to be more transparent with you than probably we ever have before. As long as everyone plays nice, we will keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to pop on there and look at the route blueprints that people have made.
Yes.
It's really cool. That's a good way to see
what a seamless segue, Matthew Pickering.
Yeah. There you go.
Like you prepared this earlier.
All
right. Retro, go ahead.
So within our Discord, we have a channel called Route Creator, and you can post all your routes there, and we do check them out. And we actually found one by a user called Vaporizer, and yeah, he posted this battalion job, so we thought we'd check it out.
Yes, this is following a movie theme. Did you give him the movie theme?
No, I think he just followed on for the tweet, which is great, because the thing is, we'd like to see creative ones. We like to see ones a little bit different. If they have a theme, that's kind of nice. I kind of like the idea of someone having a theme or a reason behind their route. So I'd definitely be up for seeing more of them.
Absolutely. And a couple of months ago, we played through one of Don Juan Song's bonkers routes on here. This one is like not quite as bonkers. It's more of a conventional race route with some really creative little nips and tucks here and there, which we will take a look at right now.
I really like it. This is the kind of route I would look for as a good candidate to go into a seasonal championship or be featured on the PG picks.
Yeah.
You're in manual gears there, Mike.
Yeah.
Demonetized.
Restart.
Thanks, Matt. So while I'm doing this, Torben, do you want to talk us through what's coming up in Update 9?
Absolutely. So one of the really big cool things in Update 9 is yet another take on how to play online adventures. Tentatively titled Custom Adventure. It's a way for you basically to go in and specify what car class and what type of racing you want to do, and then be match made with other people who want to do that as well. So if you just have a desperate hankering for some S2 dirt racing, well, I'm sure there are other people out there who would love to do that as well. So sign up for it and actually try it out. That's lined up for Series 9. Still work in progress. Who knows? We may be dropping by the Discord to chat a little bit about that. It's all part of just trying to be responsive to what we're seeing and slot things into the game that make sense. As you mentioned, Mike, this concept of the high watermark, things that we can fit into an update, things that we can't. So Series 9, we'll be talking more about that in social media and up towards the video, the live stream for that. Just a little bit careful that I don't accidentally say anything that I shouldn't say about the update after the update that we've actually got in front of us here. But just kind of summarizing this, it's a new swathe of activities in festival playlists, a new way to paint cars, an entirely new kind of adventure that's just super focused on drifting and going sideways on a bunch of fun, awesome tracks throughout the game.
All right, I think we have a few minutes left to take some questions from the audience. So I'm going to have to hand this controller over to you, Matt.
Sure.
Because I cannot read and drive. I struggle to talk and drive.
I'm going to give it a fresh go.
Yeah. Good call.
I did spin out on the start line for a few seconds.
So should we start with some Q&A?
Yes.
So we noticed a few people in chat asking some stuff. So first of all, main one, why don't we talk a bit about cars, which, you know, would suit the game, but more into the car licensing, because I know a lot of people out there, they always ask for specific cars, which, you know, we'd love to put every single car into the game, but unfortunately sometimes it's just not as easy as you think. So would any of you like to explain a bit more about car licensing?
Yeah, I think the thing to know about car licensing is the often incredible volume of moving parts that are involved there. We have obviously us, we have Xbox, we have then the car license holders. For modern cars, for a 2018 Mercedes, it's usually pretty straightforward. Mercedes really want their cars to be in our game, we want them to be in our game, and you can make that happen. Any car that's not currently on sale usually has a way more complicated licensing relationship.
And then when you start adding in things like, oh, it's appeared in a certain movie, or it was presented in a certain way, it just spirals into complexity.
Yeah, any car that is from a defunct manufacturer is especially complicated, because usually all of the constituent parts of that car have been sold off to separate license holders, and then we need to get each of those to sign up and agree separately that they don't mind us putting it in the game. And even once we've done all of that and we have everybody happy, there is just still months and months and months of work involved in us having to find one of those cars, because every single car in the game, I guess with the exception of the Warthog and the Final Fantasy car, we have found a real life example of that car that we've been able, that is like effectively museum quality, that we've been able to go and take thousands and thousands of photographs of, get all the requisite data, audio recordings and stuff that we need, such that we can recreate it in game. So the journey from you going, this car would be really nice, in the wishlist thread, to getting it in game is long and complicated and fraught with hurdles that every car must overcome before it can make it into the game. So it's never just that we're ignoring your request. It's very much a case of it's just really hard.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anyone does have any car suggestions, definitely check it out on the wish list. It's stickied on the forum on the FH4 discussion, so go check it out. Give us all your suggestions, because we do give that a read.
Is there a section in Discord for it as well?
No, because we want to direct it straightly to the Motorsport forums.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Right, move on. I forgot to quickly mention as well, just a quick shout out. My t-shirt today, I want to quickly shout out, because I have to and explain it, the ISA Day Discord. Speaking about Discords, it's one of the Forza communities we have, and also the Reddit Discord for the meme in the first place. And if I didn't shout it out, I won't forgive myself. So quickly just doing that. Anyway, to the next question. A lot of people are asking, and obviously it's an obvious one, Expansion 2.
Well, let me tell you about...
Link everything!
Unfortunately, all we are permitted to say about Expansion 2 is that it will be releasing in the first half of 2019, which people who are familiar with calendars among you will know it doesn't leave long left. So, yes, watch this space, keep an eye on our channels, and you'll hear about it shortly.
Yes, that's definitely one of them. Also, let's move on to rank mode, because there's been a lot of questions: who, what, where, when, why, what is our system, how does it work? There's a lot of questions regarding the draw system, and you know, I think it's best we kind of explain a little bit more, because I think some people are a little bit unsure and they don't understand, you know, the true skill system and things like that.
Yeah, so True Skill is a Microsoft's own ranking system. It is fairly complicated, and it is based on a number of factors, chiefly of which how skilled you are. And in our game, skill is not necessarily your driving skill. It's kind of a combination. It's basically your likelihood of winning, which obviously is a large part skill, but also car, tune, upgrades, all manner of other things. A lot of those things will improve the more you play the game. So your skill is ever changing, which means for True Skill, it's always trying to guess how good it knows your skill, if that makes sense. It's always trying to measure its own certainty in your skill. And for someone who's played the game lots, played the game for hundreds of hours, it will have a pretty good certainty. If someone that has not played the game very much at all, it will have an extremely broad certainty in which it will really struggle to be able to accurately guess your skill. What that can do in scenarios which I'm sure some of you have encountered if you are in that first category of played it lots and lots, where the game knows exactly how good you are, it can create a scenario that we thought was hypothetical, but evidence suggests it is not only hypothetical but also possible, that you can win a race or at least win a team race, and have your skill go down, or have your skill rating go down, which I know it looks broken, but mathematically it is sound. What is happening there is the game is certain of your skill. You are extremely high skilled, whereas the other person, it was not. And that fuzziness in the system can create those scenarios where your score can go down, even in the scenario where you won, and obviously in that scenario you've done everything you could. Really, it was just that they were so bad that you...
So, I mean, essentially what it's doing, right, is it's comparing everyone who is racing, and in the situations where it knows less about specific races, it will affect everyone in that situation, and that's how the system works.
Yeah, it's odd, but it is true skill, and it's tried and tested, and in the vast majority of cases, it's very, very good, and it will get you a really good, strong match. The cases where you're likely to see it struggle are right after an update goes live, when there are fewer people online. If you matchmake after that, then everyone else is getting the patch, and it will struggle to find somebody of a skill rating that's close to yours, and more likely put you in someone with a skill rating that's not close to yours, which can cause those scenarios where you can win and still have your points go down because the other guys were really rubbish, basically.
Should we, as we've got only a few minutes left, should we quick fire some final questions? So, is Drift Adventure rear-wheel drive only?
It's rear-wheel drive in some events and all-wheel drive in other events. You see it when you open the event. Is this rear-wheel drive? Is it S1, S2 rear-wheel drive? Or is it, for example, AB class all-wheel drive?
Okay.
But the streams don't cross.
The streams do not cross.
Nice. Another one which keeps up about brake calipers. Is that happening? I mean, we have answered this before, but it keeps coming up.
We kind of talked about it when we talked about the complexities of licensing cars.
Yeah, the problem with brake calipers was really just it turned out to be thousands of man-hours of work, and such. It makes it a very, very, very long-term proposition for us to solve that issue, unfortunately. It's one that we really hoped we could find a smart solution to, but there wasn't one that didn't involve us having to go and update every single car in the game. And as we keep adding more cars, that keeps getting more and more difficult. It's a very, very, very long-term issue, I'm afraid.
Can we give them a little bit more on any more content in the future?
Give them a story tease.
Okay. Well,
he didn't expect to say this. So.
It's just like, oh no.
I've put on a bit of an accent and say we would be dealing with...
Don't do that.
No, stay on the accent.
Cut it.
No, we've got another story coming up that is very quirky and focused on cars in some pretty crazy situations. It's featuring one of my favourite characters, I think.
Right. Is there any more body kits for existing cars? I know a few people are always looking for them. Is that yes?
There are more body kits coming, yes.
Nice.
Yeah. Not ready to give more details, but yes, I think you'll be pretty happy in the next few months, yes.
Can we give anything about the future of Forza cars? Will there be any more rare or cars that we definitely know people want?
Does that mean
Forza
shops?
Sorry, Forza shops.
Well, I mean,
to be fair, they can always change. So.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing, right? What we understand now may very well turn out to be not the best idea.
What I would say on that is where we put cars, when we have cars as seasonal event rewards, as festival players rewards, as series rewards in Team Adventure, all of that is driven by you guys and how you interact with the game. So when we see people engaging with certain content because they really want to get the car, or engaging with content that we're not putting good rewards in, we react to that. And if we see that people have thousands of unspent Forza points in their wallets, rest assured we'll do something to take those off you.
I think it's worth mentioning as well that it can be disappointing if you see the shop and you've got everything already, but there are lots of players out there who haven't got that stuff. So.
Yes, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
You guys have to remember that you guys that are spending your evening watching Forza Horizon 4 live stream are extremely dedicated players, and there is a whole wealth of other players who it might only be their second week of seeing the Forza shop, and so to them it's a cool opportunity to be able to get expensive cars for Forza points instead of credits, because they may not have those credits, for example. But we don't have a long-term rule book about where we put those cars. I think that there's absolutely opportunity that we could stick some Forza shop or rework how we do things in playlist and season events going forward.
But one thing that we've already seen a little bit, but is kind of a design goal that we have, is to cycle the cars. So if a car has been through a Forza shop or in a particular event, it's going to come up again. Not necessarily in the same place, but there will be more opportunities to get these cars down.
Yes. Yeah, there are. There are no cars that we have like stuck a pin in and said we are never going to do this again. So no matter what car it is that you're waiting to see again, it'll be around some point soon.
So a bit more on the PR stunt. So apparently like a kind of easy, normal PR stunt that seems to give you a super wheel spin. However, the more expert ones, they give you a normal wheel spin. Is there a reason for this?
Explain yourself.
So this is, I think...
I don't think there is a hard and fast rule. Like, it's just, that seems to be a tradition that we've got at the moment. There's no reason why we can't change it, though, I think.
I would suggest as well that what some people consider to be an expert level PR stunt is not necessarily what other people consider to be an expert level PR stunt. And
I think that's quite a good factor.
So Tom the other day was really struggling on that speed zone. He had about 30 goes. I did it first time. It's just
yeah, it's one of those things.
There is something that feels really great about just nailing a jump or nailing a drift zone and then coming out, and it's 3 stars, seasonal objective completed, and here's a super wheel spin. It just feels like,
Well, I mean, you guys saw earlier in the video how Chris just drove out the auto show and just casually 3-starred the PR stunt at the drift fan. That would take me like 4 or 5 goes to do that. So different. It works differently for different people. So it's not necessarily a case that we pick a PR stunt and go, this one is hard. It's
just
hard for you and not hard for someone else. Yeah, it's a curious thing, really.
So for those out there as well, if you do have any suggestions, further questions, definitely submit a ticket, as my t-shirt says, to our support site, which you should get the link in chat. But speaking of this, we've had a few people suggest, will we get any more music? Any new music or radio stations?
Possibly. I don't want to. It's certainly a possibility. I don't want to hype that up too much, but yeah, it's a definite possibility that can happen in the future.
Also, a few people were asking about Drift Adventure. Is that part of festival playlist?
It is alongside all the other adventure types. So one of the things you need to do for your festival playlist is play some adventures. That could be Drift, it could be Free-for-all, it could be any of the adventure types that are in the game. You choose and it comes.
So will Drift Adventure come to single player as well then? Or is it just...
So that takes us into the territory of drifting drivatars, which is a whole separate discussion. Too Long Didn't Read, drivatars are designed to go tightly around corners fast. Sideways around corners is not so.
Yeah, because you have to remember, as much as people make fun of the drivatars, they are based on the performance of real people, and we've got to be honest, it doesn't track how well you're at drifting. So it's quite a big update to make them do that. So yeah, that'll be a longer term addition if we do that. It won't be anytime soon.
But keep in mind the fact that because Drift Adventure is collisions off, it's a way to go in and just consume circuits and practice your drifting. It's the way I play online adventures. I'm not the best Horizon player out there. I basically drive against myself and bookmark myself against how other people are doing to look for improvement.
Yeah. Another one is, how sensitive is turning backwards for setting a dirty lap? Like, will it count if you accidentally spin out?
No, it won't. What we've tried very hard to do is design it so that it will catch people who are driving backwards, who are thinking, oh, if I just turn around here and go back 500 meters, I can get an even better drift score. In that situation, it will dirty your lap and you'll need to try again. Just spinning out and getting back onto the road should not trigger it.
Are the rules similar to drift zones in that regard?
They are a little more lenient than drift zones.
Oh wow!
I think.
Probably something to learn there about how much you can get away with.
I mean, also things like if you get so far off the track that it hands of God you back, moves you back onto the track and sets you to 0 and lets you drive again. That will not dirty your lap because you've lost distance, you've lost speed, you've lost inertia. It's not a strategy that will benefit you.
Okay. So this is the one, I've had quite a few people ask me this as well, and I know it's a very popular question out there in the community. Open class rivals. What's going on with that?
It's again, right? It's this whole discussion of watermarks. It's something that we'd love to do, but it's in a pile of stuff that also we would love to do.
Say, yeah, we know about it. We've listened to that point. Yeah, we want to act on it. I'm not going to say any more than that.
There we go.
We know you guys want it. We'll get there one day.
Another popular one, especially as there is a thread on the forums as well for it, and I've seen it a lot in the Discord. Is there any chance or any plans of doing some more car balancing? For example, in before someone starts shouting Bone Shaker OP, but is there any plans for that?
Yeah, so we're always looking at telemetry, always looking at cars that may indeed be OP. Right now, we don't have any plans to make any changes. I
mean, we're monitoring the data anyway, so we will be keeping an eye on that.
Yeah, it's. I think the overpoweredness of the Bone Shaker might be overstated. There's a lot of people ride it. There's a lot of people in it, but not necessarily are they more likely to win if they're in it.
Yes, that's a really interesting thing, right? When you hear a discourse and people are saying something about the performance of a car or even the performance of a game mode, that is one thing. But we're in the position that we can see data, and that actually is really interesting because something that not a lot of people are talking about could be really, really, really popular. You mentioned Rivals, right? And that's an example of that. Something that traditionally was something some people engaged with, but not a huge amount. When it went into festival playlist, huge numbers of people playing it and really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
And maybe one last question. Do we have any plans to expand Blueprint?
I have a very long list of stuff I would love to do, but we're back to this whole thing of the watermark and the priorities.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Potentially. Who knows? But I think, is that all the questions we have for now?
Yeah, okay.
If you do have any more questions...
Tom says he got every single question, so...
Blame Tom. No, if you do have any more questions, guys, don't forget...
Hey Tom, will there be indicators? No, probably not. It'll take us even longer to do than the brake calipers, and we haven't got a spare button on Xbox, so...
But yeah, if you do have any more questions, guys, definitely you can tweet us at WeArePlayground, or you can check out our Instagram at WeArePlaygroundGames. Join the Discord if it is just a small question. That isn't the place for questions, but we are open to discussions on topics. Or check out our support site for all the articles, or if you've got suggestions, ideas, bugs or issues that we can fix.
Definitely raise tickets, because that's just a really structured way.
Actually, it'd be nice to just quick explain. I have a lot of people asking about tickets. Please go through the support site. Please submit a ticket, because it makes it a lot easier for us to track it. A lot of people are trying to ask us in the Discord. The problem is, especially if the chat's going really busy, or the Discord gets busy, or I'm not able to be on the Discord, I can sometimes miss tickets, and I don't want to do that. I want to make sure every ticket is heard and read and answered, and that's why the support site comes in handy. I will look at them. For those that don't know the process, I mark every ticket, I reply to every ticket, I then put them into a spreadsheet and I discuss them with the relevant teams, and they do get heard. So definitely do it this way, because I don't want anything to be missed.
Yeah, and if you think, oh, this must have already reported, don't think that.
Keep doing it, the more the better.
Well, absolutely, the more people that mention a certain issue, the more likely it is that we'll address it. But also, it might not be that no one else might have entered it. It's quite often when it's possible an issue affects you often, but actually doesn't affect many other people at all. And so an issue that could be a real major pain for you actually might not be affecting that many people, and your view on it might be quite skewed. So put the ticket in so we can address it, because it's not a sure thing that anybody else has.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us on the Playground Games live stream. We'll be back in about 4 weeks to talk to you about Update 9. Until then, I've been Mike Brown. This is Matt Pickering. This is Retro Crystal. And this is Torben Elliott. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Bye everyone. Bye.
Play it on Xbox One.